Good evening, Europe. I believe now we are on. Thank you very much for everybody that is watching us. I'm very pleased with all the people that made the inscription for this webinar, that is a meeting of candidates. And I must confess that I thought it was not so much people that made their inscriptions. So thank you very much for this presentation. Our last webinar, it was in the beginning of June. It was with the president of section of occupational medicine of UEMS and with the secretary general of UEMS, just to start and to talk about motivation to this webinar. And this webinar is, the theme is to motivate also and to try, if you want, to make a networking of candidates that can help each other. I should say that I'm very pleased to have two friends that I like so much, these two men here, that is Pedro Reis, that is our representative, Portuguese representative in the board of the UEMS, and also is the president or the responsible in our medical association in Portugal for evaluate the curricula of the people that wants to be specialists. And also I have here the Tiago Oliveira, that it was our first Portuguese that had the experience and to have success in the first exam. I asked him to share the experience here and to help us to do this networking of people. We believe that this exam in the beginning, because this is the second edition, we believe that it's good to try to motivate and to talk about what the candidates could want to know about this second edition. So the first, we in the question and answers box, you can ask in the end of the presentation, or during the presentation, you can do your questions, your suggestions. Also, I suggest you to write your contacts in a way for us to do the net meeting or networking of the candidates, or even if you don't want to do it now, you can also contact us to the email of the Portuguese Society of Occupational Medicine, and Tiago Oliveira will be sharing with all of you and organize whatever the meeting, the networking needs, and help the people or help each other in this way, the 2 months that we have in front of you to the exam in the end of August. So Pedro Gustavo Reis, our representative in the UEMS, if you want to share your presentation, you will start, and then we'll be the Dr. Tiago Oliveira with some tips, some informations about the exam, and maybe important information that maybe sharing will help you with the exam. So Pedro Gustavo Reis, if you want to share your presentation, you're a special guest. I want to say also, sorry, but I want to say that I want to thank Pedro Reis, that in 2012, he was the responsible for my first meeting in the UEMS, invite me to go to stay with him. And it was so nice to share the experience and to help him in that meeting of UEMS. So Pedro, if you want, thank you very much.
Thank you, George. Well, I will present a brief resume about UEMS, its role, and specifically in the field of evaluation and the postgraduate treatment. Sorry, now I'm in French, so sometimes I mix the words in Portuguese, French, and English. Anyway, it is the postgraduate curricula and development. So I'll present here further. Oops. Well, yes, there it is. So I believe that here. So if you want to deep further in the knowledge of all these documents that I will present you, you can go into the site of UMS, where they have a large presentation, but I have retained here only the main parts and the principles that concern us. So the UMS had been founded in 1958. Currently, we are 34 countries that are represented, not only the European Union, but also some countries that are associated, like Norway, Switzerland, and a couple of others. We represent over 6,600,000 medical specialists throughout Europe. And our task is to promote and defend this is the role of the specialists in the field of healthcare. So we are connected with several European institutions. We have a council that is the task force that is the executive part of and an executive part of the UMS, and it is also constituted by the specialist sections. That is, each specialty field is represented by a section. So ours is occupational medicine, and I will go further. Actually, currently we are 39 sections. We have also divisions, and what we call the multidisciplinary committees, MGCs, are constituted by several or more than two or more sections that have a shared field of responsibility. So the standards that UMS sets are for high quality healthcare, and includes naturally the development in the postgraduate curricula. We have recommendations concerning the field of health throughout the Union, and the directives that are enacted by the Commission in this field are also with a part of lobbying. We can say that's what is happening in Brussels nowadays, and UMS provides the knowledge so that the directives that are in this field can translate the knowledge that are specific for the medical bodies. So the first European directives were enacted in 1975 concerning the recognition of different qualifications of fields of jobs, and the medical one was the first one to be recognized. So that allows that a physician that is recognized in a country in the EU can move freely throughout this space. We have other data where we have established several other documents, the training, quality and autonomy in 1990, and the Council for Continuing Medical Education was established in 1999. So the postgraduate training formerly was addressed as Chapter 6. Nowadays is training requirements for specialty of the specialty that is concerned. That was done it was an updated of those terms in 2011, 2012. That charter I'll talk about a little bit later. That recognition of professional qualification, as I've told before, was established and is currently established by the Directive of 2005. It does not only addresses the medical field, but also every other fields of qualification, professional qualifications. And in 2007, it was established the Council for European Specialists and Medical Assessment. So there is where it started the process that currently allows us to have this assessment in the field of occupational medicine. The criteria has been revised and updated regularly, and to establish the different branches that evaluate this development have been instituted several other organisms. One of them regarding and concerning the training is the ECMSQ, that's the European Council for Medical Specialist Qualifications, and it evaluates through these assessments in the different specialties through multi-choice questions and the DOPS, that's direct observation of practical skills. So it's this that these different procedures that permits to evaluate the competency of the candidates that performs these assessments. The first assessment was in 2011. It was for critical care medicine, and since then we have had different programs of assessment in different specialties. And concerning occupational medicine, the first one was in 2020, in the beginning of the year, so that has avoided the problem of COVID by a couple of weeks, and that allows that some candidates could have been performing this assessment. So there are three main aspects in the field of the core business of UMS to assure that the specialists in the different fields of knowledge are abiding by the criteria that has been established as the highest standards in Europe. And that is the quality improvement, established in 2001, quality assurance, I guess it was 2004 or 5, I don't 2004, and quality control in 2009. The continuing medical education that has been revised in 2007, and I think in 2000, more recently in 2015, I think, and the continued professional development are parts of this process. So we are dealing not only about this evaluation does not concern only the physicians, but includes the patients through their organizations of specific for rare diseases, for major diseases like diabetes and so on. Also employers, so large enterprises that invest also in the field of health, and those that dispose the funds from applications of sources of income so that we can finance the investigation and the knowledge in this field. The standards that has been established initially in 1997 has been agreed with throughout these years. One has the UMS has established the credits and recognizes together with the United States and Canada. So there is a reciprocity of the credits in those major areas of people, so in the America and the Europe, so that the acquisition of these credits can be recognized across Atlantic. So that directive I've already talked about, that recognition, and I'll go a bit further on presentation. So concerning the section of occupational medicine, it was established in 1997, represents currently almost all the European countries, not only the European Union, but also Switzerland, Norway. Unfortunately, France, Malta, and Iceland are not represented, and Sweden currently. We hope that they will indicate their representatives, but for the past few years that we have not managed to get in touch with them. So we have twice a year meetings, except last year because of the pandemic. And we have established the requirements for the training and the specialty. So these documents and reports are available at the site of the UMS section of occupational medicine. It is it is free to access, and one can consult all of those items that are inscribed in that link. We have dealt with problems regarding the European Working Time Directive, specifically those that concerns the long working hours and particularly for the interns in the field of medicine. As you know, there are some specialties where the internship is quite stressful in terms of working hours. We have published a document in the British Medical Journal, is also accessible, and deals with that situation. And most recently, we have managed to establish the program of training and the basis that allowed us to have this assessment of those that want to acquire the specialty of occupational medicine by performing this assessment. This is a brief resume, so everything that you want to go a bit further, you can go into the links of UMS and the section, and you can find more specific fields of explanation. Thank you. Okay. Kev.
Thank you, Pedro. Thank you very much. In the end of the presentation of Tiago Oliveira, we will discuss some issues and we'll answer the questions that we have. About all these issues, Tiago Oliveira will share with us the experience he had with the first edition of exam, and maybe differences also that you find that this second exam could have, maybe. So you have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this webinar again. So I would like to share my experience of the first edition of this exam. So I won't bother you with this because Dr. Pedro Gustavo Reis already explained many things about the UEMS, but I would briefly explain why was this exam created. To promote harmonization of the European board assessments, to provide guidelines to the boards, and to encourage to take up of board assessments as a quality mark. Why should any of you take the exam? The UEMS certificate of occupational medicine or diploma does not implicate or grant automatic allowance to work at your own responsibility. This is the first message that I want to share, and because this does not replace the internship of each country. And so the recognition of this diploma by national authorities is encouraged, but after only all the other requirements are met. Passing this exam will be a quality mark for you, which might be of use, and not only of use, it's really a quality mark, and it brings an extra mark this way to any CV. Some countries recognize this examination as presented by Dr. Pedro Gustavo Reis in many specializations also. It is supervised and credited by a group of specialists of multiple European countries. And this is the highest honor that the European board or the European section of occupational medicine can award, as it could be the highest, the internal medicine or dermatology board could award. This is the main purpose of the exams. Who should take then the exam? Every European occupational medicine doctor. Why not? Everyone who wants to be submitted to a knowledge assessment at an European level. This is also very, very important. Science is the same across all the European countries. And this is a broader assessment which is credited, which is audited, and it surely guarantees a quality mark. National exams won't achieve. And everyone who wants to add to their CV this mark. So there is some recommended reading that is too extensive to be explaining in this webinar, but these slides are going to be shared, and so the direct links will be easy to access those documents. These are important documents and explain the European standards of postgraduate medical specialist training in occupational medicine and the annex. So which topics are going to be on the exam? There are topics, but not all of them are created equal, I would say. I didn't have this information, and the information that I'm going to share next for my own exam, but it is very important, and as I have it now, I would like to share, so it may be easier for everyone to prepare and get prepared for the success. And from all these 10 topics that as we are going to share the slides, you may see and read it through at home. The most important of these 10 topics is the topic number 4, hazard recognition, evaluation, and control risk, because it is easy to understand that this is the core skills for an occupational medicine doctor. And the exam is made of multiple choice questions, and each question will have a number after. 1, meaning that it is an easy question, also only grants 1 point. 2, for a moderate difficult question, it grants 2 points, and difficult question grants 3 points. So you can then check this at home, but 1/3 of the exam is topic number 4 as expected. And so the maximum score, it's 1, you may see how many questions there are for each topic, and how many of the different levels of difficulty there are. So 1 multiplied by 1 is 1, 3 multiplied by 2 is 6, and 1 multiplied by 3 is 3. So 1 plus 6 plus 3 is going to give you a 10 out of 240, but then it's adjusted to 100%. So to pass the exam is not will have to have at least 75%. It's also important to know that this is the threshold to pass the exam. So this is what the exam looked like on the first edition or appraisal. It may be very similar in the second edition. So there is a grid where every answer has to be recorded. So now we have seen the topics and the difficulty. I would repeat again that each you will know how, if the question is easy, moderate, or difficult, each question has this number signaled. So now I will share what I think is also my experience in this exam. The questions are of those topics, but there are many ways to formulate the questions. I would say that that is just my feeling. We don't have the exam. We are not allowed to take it home. And my feeling is that about half of the questions would be complex problems that you would need theoretical knowledge, also professional attitude, leadership, or emergency response. You have to connect all this information, all this knowledge to solve. So most of the exam will be extensive. You have to read a lot of lines to solve, to read the full question. And they will need everything. There will be also pure theoretical knowledge questions, I would say about 40%, and theoretical professional attitude, leadership, or emergency response questions. But most of the exam will have clinical problems, work-related problems, and theoretical knowledge, professional attitude, leadership, or emergency response will be included on this exam. So expect a lot of pages to read and go through. There is no need to be in rush, but also there is no time to lose. You have to be always reading and answering the questions. So time management becomes a part of the success. I could finish the exam in time with no problems. I would say that I finished it about 20 minutes earlier, a little bit more than 20 minutes. And I will share just my strategy, because I think most people, when they read twice or 3-4 times the same question, they are going to probably most of the times block the correct or the first feeling answer and choose the wrong one. So I just read a second time the questions that I want to read again. I circle them and then I just precisely, surgically go there to review them. Not all of the exam, but it is just my strategy. So I would advise always to go to the UEMS and check the recommended literature. I feel that the recommended literature is very specific, and it has many different topics. So all of this literature is for sure to read. But in addition to that, because there is a need to review almost everything about occupational medicine, this is the book that I would recommend, just because it is very, very, very well organized, and it is easy to read. It is of good help, I think. So if anyone wants to buy it, I think it will help to prepare for the exam also. So the application form is like the follow. I would like to say that everyone is well on time if they want to prepare and also to apply to this exam until the 23rd of August, just 1 week before the deadline. The exam starts at 9 a.m. I would remember everyone that is 9 a.m. from Central Europe. It's not Portuguese 9 a.m. that may be until 9:30. It won't be allowed the entry on the exam. So you should arrive before, not after at any means. So the exam will be on Domus Medical European, and it is very central on Brussels. It is near the subway, easy accessible, a lot of hotels. I would recommend everyone, if they want to stay really near the exam place, the exam site, to profit from the granted prices from UEMS that won't stay until the last date. So from a final message, I think that everyone should challenge their knowledge at an European level. We no longer are an isolated country, not Spain, not Italy, Eastern Europe. Everyone is connected. The knowledge is the same. It's always a challenge to be passing or going through an exam in another language, and also to get tested with questions and multiple choice questions, not that we are not so much used, because the science is the same, but the way to make the clinical cases may differ from country to country, and it's always a good and enriching experience. So I wish that everyone that goes through this challenge to succeed and may enrich their CV with what is the finest European knowledge recognition in occupational medicine. To end, I would like to thank Dr. Alenka, the President of the Occupational Medicine Section or European Board of Occupational Medicine, of the European Union of Medical Specialists, for all the effort in creating this high-level European assessment. Also, Dr. Pedro Gustavo Reis for representing the Portuguese Medical Association at the Occupational Medicine section of UEMS, and at last but not least, Dr. Jorge Barroso Dias, President of the Portuguese Society of Occupational Medicine, for the idea and support on this webinar series. This is not the first and probably not the last, we hope, if there is interest. And for the Lisbon International Forum of Occupational Health Organization also. And for now, that's all. I don't know if there are any questions, but we will be available to answer them. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Tiago Oliveira. In my case, I think it's my obligation to help, and duty of the Portuguese Society of Occupational Medicine to do what is possible. We have, in this moment, we have no questions, but I do ask you what did you feel during the time of preparation to this exam, and what difficulties you had? Maybe our colleagues, candidates, are now feeling that in these moments that. So what do you feel? What difficulties do you have and your colleagues have?
Well, I shared a lot of information that I didn't have, like the number of the questions, that they would be marked in different levels, which topics would have most of the questions or more important. I found that there are, the science is the same, but as I said, there is more to that what we are expecting, like nuclear powers or accidents. We don't have any nuclear plant in Portugal. And so you have to study it from zero, from ground zero. And so it's everything you are expecting, plus some problems that some occupational health issues or diseases that other countries have. I felt it is a challenge for sure, because it is in English, and I can speak English a little bit fluently. I'm not very good, but I can manage it, also reading and writing, but it's not our native language, and I don't speak everyday English because it doesn't make any sense. It will be the same for Spanish people, Italians, French, Germans. It is an extra challenge, but reading through the literature that I hope that UEMS will make an updated version, there is a feeling that something is missing. It actually was, because if I just studied those documents, probably I wouldn't succeed, because everything is tested on that exam. And so I really recommend what I did. It's review for everything with, for example, with that book from Oxford.
Okay, I didn't say before, but the first webinar that we made about this theme, about this exam, UEMS exam, it was, as I told before, with the Secretary General of UEMS and with the president of the board of occupational medicine section, Professor Alenka Skedjan. And this webinar is free. You can see it in our YouTube channel, and also this webinar now is you can find it there. It's a way that the people that couldn't manage to be with us now and in the last webinar could see it again when you want. Well, for us, we ask to talk in the webinar in the Lisbon International Forum we had in Lisbon, that also Pedro Gustavo Reis, Dr. Pedro Gustavo Reis was in that Lisbon International Forum. I asked to talk about the theme about the exam, especially to motivate the people. We find it very useful because some persons went, and now we are doing the same with all the other candidates. Pedro, I don't know if you want to add something.
Yes, we are talking about an exam, but actually it is not an exam, it's an assessment. Okay. The concept is different. We are not doing as the evaluation concerning Harrison, 50 pages or 50 chapters, not 50 pages. No. So it is more an evaluation that concerns not only knowledge of medicine, because it has to evaluate that, of course, but also practical situations. So day-to-day situations that a physician may be dealing, and the way he has to show how he can overcome the difficulties. So it's more the concept of assessment is precisely a change of a concept, not only evaluating the knowledge, but also how to deal with practical situations. That is the concept of the assessment. I believe that in the presentation, a reference was made to ESOM, but I think you were calling EASOM, that is the European Association of Schools of Occupational Medicine, which is an association of the schools of occupational medicine of Europe that are also part. They provided also technical and some of the concepts and the questions that are put forward. So that is a joint venture, we can say that, between not only the section, but also involves the schools of occupational medicine that has developed this evaluation. This assessment is the objective that it may be considered as part of a final examination in the different countries of Europe. There are already some countries like Slovenia that considers it in part of its final evaluation. Of course, that are every country has its own specificities concerning the legislation and legal issues, but the concept of occupational medicine, we are dealing with human beings, we are dealing with environment, and it's not the borders that change that. So the objective of this assessment is also sort of not a green card, but something like that, that can entitle its users to go throughout Europe without any restrictions, although that is already recognized through the directive of the recognition of competencies or professional skills. But this is an added value, and it shows that the people that has overcome this assessment will certainly perform without any difficulties in any country in Europe regarding its technical knowledge.
Thank you, Pedro. And I would like to ask you, do you think this assessment, and thank you for your explanation, will be more important and improve more the harmonization in the trainings, in the schools, and make the people make more networking and be more present, more near for each other between countries?
Actually, we are also dealing with different concepts of occupational health in general, and according to that, occupational medicine, there are different concepts. So the northern countries, Anglo-Saxon, they have their occupational health and safety are dependent mainly on technicians security officers. The nurses, the National Health Service in England is structured fundamentally nowadays upon the nurses for the curative or caring aspect. So this field of occupational medicine is also performed mainly by nurses. So the doctors are at a level a little different from the southern countries. The concept of occupational exams is not the same. Throughout Europe, and this is also a problem because of the lack of physicians in this field, is going towards that concept, unfortunately, in my point of view, because I had just to give an example, we had a meeting that was in London at the time of previous to the Olympic Games in 2012, I think it was in 2012 in London, and at the time they were building the Olympic Village. And for about, they had a total of almost 20,000 people working at a given time. And there was about 4 or 5 doctors. The main of the surveillance was performed by the nurses. There was not this concept of evaluating the persons if they were without any problem, health problem that could create a risk for them, or giving some aggravating their own problems of health problems. And an example they had given was that going in the subway, it was a health technician that regarded someone was having a dermatosis of cement, and the guy was just referred to the doctor afterwards, so he had never been consulting a physician in the first place. So there are different concepts nowadays. We hope that now with the current what they call is the program, the commission that is developing the health and safety evaluation for the next 5-6 years. I don't recall now what is the actual name, but I hope that this perception of occupational health is based only on safety and not on health itself. But that is the current approach that is being done. Even if you regard the OSHA EU, they usually talk about a lot of prevention, technicians, etc. It's very seldom that they talk about medicine and about doctors.
Yes, but we know the Anglo-Saxonic world has a different approach. The America has a different approach from us. We, the Portuguese society, had always contact with the American society too, and in fact we find that we do the surveillance more than them. But anyway, in Europe, at least the continental Europe, there is, and you have your experience in France. Sorry to ask you, but just to know about you that have the European experience and the Latin experience, do you feel this exam is more accepted, more going, helping that we be more harmonized, more near for each other?
Yes, the objective and purpose of this exam is not only in the occupational medicine, but throughout the other medical specialties. They are implementing, and the UMS is trying to how we can say, promote to the different national bodies that they can recognize as a common standard of knowledge, of course with particularities, because each country will certainly because that is what is called the subsidiary right of each country, define certain fields, and medicine, the health sector is one of them. So it will take time, certainly, but we can probably go towards at least a part of the evaluation, taking into account this assessment that is a European one. Just like driving license throughout Europe is the same. More or less the signs and the rules are identical, apart from UK, where they drive by on the right side, or left side, this case, left, right. Well, anyway, they drive on the other side. They consider they are on the right, and not Europeans are on the wrong side. Okay, but this harmonization probably will take effect in in the next couple of years. It will be a long process, but that UMS is striving to promote this evaluation on the different fields throughout different medical associations.
I feel the same. There is no, maybe because the English, but please don't be shy and to make questions. I have no questions in the moment. Maybe you are answering everything and I'm asking you everything. So I feel the same as Pedro, and that in Portugal, at least, we are giving more and more importance of this exam. It's the second edition, but we are giving a lot of importance of this. And so I asked Tiago Oliveira, do you feel that it was a good investment? How do you feel, because you have already the certificate and do you advise it to the friends? Because I know you are helping people with this exam. I know, so for this reason we have these webinars, and we want to do this networking because we think that we can all motivate the people that are candidates to this exam. But my question is, do you feel that it deserved the effort? Do you feel well having this exam?
Well, yes, for sure. It really depends on how you see many things in life. I really like challenges. This was quite a big challenge because I didn't have almost any info, and I jumped same to try and test my knowledge at an European level. I am motivating some friends, helping them to be motivated, to study hard, and to succeed. I hope they will succeed. And for sure, it's important also for us to know that if we go outside Portugal, and the same, I think, same would apply to Spain, France, Italy. We live in a global world, and being tested with an accredited assessment that was accredited by many different teachers, professors, scholars. It's not a common opportunity to test and assess our own knowledge. Well, for sure, as doctors, we have to be learning all life. We don't stop. But I would say that it is quite an experience, for the positive experience. Yeah. And that's why I'm trying to motivate. And also we are doing these webinars.
In fact, I remember very well the time, the January in the last year, before the pandemic COVID. I remember very well the time of your exam, and in that time I remember that you tell me that it was good to find and to connect with all your colleagues in the assessment, and the first idea about to make a network. It was in that time when you tell me that you lose the connection. And so for this reason, I think it's good to make the connection and maintain the connection between the people that has this experience, because you can share with the others and motivate the others even better than the other people that haven't done it. So we are not doing a webinar longer. But for the last moments, I also ask you what fears you know that your colleagues have, and of course they will lose the fears after to do what you advise. And so I ask the both of you if you can say anything that maybe I forgot to ask you, but maybe it was important to everybody that is with us. I remember that there's a lot of people from Portugal, mainly, because our connections are more in Portugal, but also we have in France and Spain, and so many countries with names that I don't know, but with Gmail, I don't know from which countries they are. So maybe first the Tiago with the fears, and after Pedro with some final words.
Well, it may feel overwhelming reading the recommended literature, but well, it takes time. That's for sure. It is an investment. I would be lying if I would say that you can go there and it will be a walk in the park. It would be far from the truth, because it's quite a complex exam. And I think the idea is exactly that. So the main fear is that I think, at least it's what I felt, and my feedback from the friends I'm helping, trying to succeed, is that, well, we are used to study and also speak in Portuguese. We are used to even our techniques and our exams in the medical field, and it's a little bit different. So you have to walk outside your comfort zone, outside your language, outside your country, and even to study from ground zero topics like, for example, the nuclear plants and accidents that we don't have, but for example, Spain, our neighbor, has. And why not? If they have, I hope not, obviously, but if there was a nuclear accident in Spain, Portuguese doctors would have to know how to deal with that. And I think it will enrich your vision about occupational medicine. It will force you to study and to review all the concepts again. I see it as a challenge, but it's I think the main fear is this: it's completely outside our comfort zone, because even in the country's national exam boards, people are always expecting some type of questions, some type of approach. Even they may know which person asks more of what, and this is the exact opposite. So you arrive with a pen, and you have to show what you know.
A person that is a challenger and went to his not comfort zone. It was Dr. Pedro Gustavo Reis, that is a Portuguese specialist with a long career and very good career here. And one day decided go to France and do his experience. So he's a European occupational doctor physician in all. So Pedro, what advice do you say, or the last words to those to these candidates that also are challengers and are people without fear and will go with a challenge?
Well, as it is already mentioned, it's a challenge, but life is full of challenge. So one has to be prepared to deal with that. Mainly in occupational medicine. I must say that since I came into France, I had the opportunity of be confronted with a lot of different situations which I had never seen. Pathology that are rare, and I had seen several of them. So it's always very interesting to be in a different field of of action. It stimulates our knowledge, our brain in the end, and gives us the different perspectives that entitles us to develop our not only our knowledge but to improve the way we practice medicine. So I came in well, already a bit old, but for the younger generation certainly it's an opportunity that I recommend to share its experience or to take contact with the different countries. Our objective in UMS is also that the internships can be shared by the countries or the the trainees. They can go to other countries to experience different forms of practice this specialty and to take contact with different realities. So it is a very interesting one, and this exam can provide a source of knowledge and competence that gives more not only freedom but also a feel of security for those that go through it.
Thank you very much. I want to thank you both speakers. We still don't have questions in this moment, so I do the same advice. If you want, just contact us for our email, the Portuguese Society. The idea is, I have here, yes, there is one question. What is the periodicity of this assessment, and when in your professional life do you think it is the best to take this assessment? Well, this could be a question for the both. So what is the periodicity of this assessment? Maybe Pedro, you can tell what in the UEMS the board wants to do, and also you can, the both things, a young doctor and a very knowledge doctor that went to go to France can say, when do you think it in your professional life do you think is the best to take this assessment? Thank you for the question, Carlos Condeso.
Well, concerning the periodicity, it is to begin with once a year, eventually twice a year. It depends upon the number of candidates. COVID has mixed up a little bit everything. But this is going to take some time to implement and to develop. So this year we're not expecting to have the possibility of having the second assessment, but fortunately we managed to have the number of candidates that allowed us to have this next month of August to have this second assessment. So every year we'll have at least one date. It will depend if there will be enough candidates to have a second, eventually a third. But for the moment, once a year, that would be the minimum. There is also another question that appeared. I think that is in the site of UMS concerning the cost of the exam, which is 700 euros. But Tiago is more up to date probably about that.
Yeah, it's correct. It's 700 euros. Yes, it's the cost of everything. It's a small group, and the UEMS has their expenses, so it's to pay the costs. But it's 700. That's correct.
Professor Alenka in the last webinar said that it depends also. We have the same costs and very few people that do the exam. So if in 1 year or two it will be 200, 300 to do the exam will be very much cheaper. And the question, the other part of the question for the both, it was, when in your professional life do you think is the best to take this assessment? I should say as soon as possible, but you tell. What do you think? When is the best time?
the assessment is as is intended to be part of a final evaluation for internships. That should be at the end of an internship. That is what it's proposed. But of course, afterwards, any specialist can be a candidate to in particular if he wants to use it as an asset to go to another country in Europe, even in the United States, because we have this sort of agreement, and can be also a facilitator in for the contract or establishing a work permit, whatever.
Well, I don't know if you have an opinion, Tiago, when is the best time. Also, I think that if somebody wants to be a specialist, could be a good assessment to show that is a good has a good knowledge about occupational medicine. No.
Well, I have to agree with Dr. Pedro Gustavo Reis. I think it is easier for younger people because the knowledge is more fresh. But everyone, it's an opportunity, a challenge to review. We have to study all life, so I think there is no answer. I have to agree that the main purpose is to be the exam at the end of the internship, so it's the main purpose. But there probably will be some opportunities to some companies that may require or be more comfortable with this assessment or this with this assessment. So it may also help some doors in the opportunities of work and labor for every one of us. So, and also in the US, and I think so that there is no limit to the age or the experience you have, and you certainly you don't need it to go to another country, but it is an extra mark, and it is or will be recognized as that.
The last webinar we had a question about somebody from Brazil and Angola asked us if there is the possibility to do the exam, even the doctors from other countries, and the answer yes, is a way to assess the knowledge and the quality, the high quality of their knowledge and the skills they have. So this webinar and all these efforts we do with at the international level, we will spend it also with the connections we have with Brazil and America and with Africa, with the countries that we will have. So we will be continuing to do some of this work. In Portugal, we will do some meetings, either in Portugal or internal, if the groups want it. So contact us. We, the Portuguese Society of Occupational Medicine, will be. We want to help the UEMS and the connection, the work that Pedro is doing as a representative of Portuguese, but also to help all the members and non-members of the Portuguese Society of Occupational Medicine. Of course, I advise everybody to become member of the Portuguese Society of Occupational Medicine. I'm Portuguese, I'm president, so I defend that. I think it's a good advice. But anyway, you will be very welcome with us here as if you are Portuguese, or even if you are not, in our Lisbon International Forum. after the pandemic period, we will meet again in Lisbon, I hope, all together again. I thank you so much, my speakers. I want to give a special thanks to Tiago Oliveira that had a wonderful work helping with all these webinars and also helping the people and their colleagues. Thank you very much, Tiago Oliveira. And also thank you for everybody that at this time is with us. And see you next webinar of the Portuguese Society of Occupational Medicine. This one and the other one for this theme will be in YouTube and also some other information in our website. Thank you very much. Good night, and thank you all. Good night, Europe.